I'm Robert Steiner, and I've been teaching medical students for more than 40 years. I've probably met, encountered, taught something around 6,000 plus medical students over the years, which seems like a lot of students, you know, that's a lot.
Dr. Robert Steiner is retiring this summer after teaching at the University of Washington School of Medicine since 1977. We visited him and his wife Kim at their home on Bainbridge Island and asked him about education and retirement.
Sharing the things that you find to be wonderful and exciting, and having somebody next to you share and see that wonder. I think it's super important to be as prepared as you possibly can be um, with the materials that you develop, um, videos that you produce, syllabi that you produce, etc. And I work really hard to make sure that the material that I do develop is accurate and that I can present it effectively. I practice presenting things myself, practice articulating how I'm going to word things and say things. And it seems like after 40 years it would kind of come natural and you can kind of wing it. But I didn't really wing very many things. I prepared pretty hard. For example, I make videos of myself. Practice teaching, practice getting up in front of the classroom, um, practice explaining, for example, a case, um, and make sure that I do it effectively and with animation and accuracy. So I practice stuff like that. I think you can easily get stuck in old habits and focus on just the quotidian aspects of what you've been doing successfully and miss an opportunity to do things better and become a more effective communicator, a more effective teacher. And that involves oftentimes reaching into the universe of pedagogy to experiment with new ideas, whether it's problem-based learning or team-based learning or peer teaching, etc. It's great to be an experimentalist when you're a teacher. Well, there's definitely been some wonderful teachers here at the University of Washington who I have um, greatly admired and studied. There's been people in the Department of Biology are super good engaging teachers who use team-based learning very, very effectively. So, and I've gone to watch them, to witness how do they do this successfully. There's a lot of journal articles about effective teaching strategies, not only for professional schools, but for undergraduate education that have been around for a long time. Even middle schools, high schools, these are learning laboratories, learning to be teachers. So I have not shied away from looking at, again, community colleges and how you can be successful, studied laboratory environments where you can have hands-on experience doing things. Um, and so I find that being in a community of teachers, not necessarily where you're giving one-on-one advice to someone who's having a hard time, but being in a community of teachers who all of whom have one degree or another of challenges that they are personally facing or that in their particular, for example, regional site might be facing, sharing those concerns, picking the brains of others who are in the room, who are engaged in the and maybe experiencing the same kind of frustrations and may not like admit it or say as much. But I think that most teachers, many teachers, share the same challenges. So having, for example, we have a meeting of the block directors and the thread directors and the theme directors that we have. I find these sessions to be very helpful, illuminating, to hear that others are having the same challenges that I have, and then listening to what their strategies are. That's been super helpful for me, at least, and that's what I would say that people that are engaged in these meetings have the same kind of feelings that they're not alone, and that there are ideas out there, and that usually solutions out there as well. But frustration, I would say, is kind of part of the game at some level. That disappointment, things not working, and having students give feedback that suggests that you're not exactly on your game, uh, taking those things seriously. I do take those things seriously. I read comments, criticisms, feedback. I take it back home. I lick my wounds, and I say, well, how can I do a better job? You can't do it by yourself. I would say it can be really lonely, and having friends and colleagues who are there to kind of pick you up when things don't go as well as you'd like, that has been a sustaining help for me. It's really an opportunity to be a lifetime learner, because it requires that you relearn, refresh things that you find exciting and interesting, and then you have the opportunity to share those moments of wonder with others. That there's no joy quite like that, of having somebody suddenly get what is really pretty darn amazing. There are many times like that when you engage somebody that you've seen 10 years ago, and they meet you on the ferry, or they meet you at a restaurant somewhere, and they come up to you and say, oh, I remember you as a teacher. And those are moments of wonder. And to realize how much they've, grown up, and that they have this wonderful life. And like, that's super fun for me. They have gone on to make amazing contributions. So even having the opportunity to rub elbows with, great individuals, with great values, with great enterprise, with great ideas, inspiration, hanging out with people like that has been pretty cool. And I've met so many of those kinds of students over the years, that to me that was a gift to me, basically. Retirement for us has been to turn to things that are that are more personal, more grounded. Taking care of animals, for example, taking care of our dogs, raising puppies. We have these two wonderful irascible donkeys who require lots of training, lots of grooming. They have their very special needs and their favorite treats. So grooming donkeys, taking care of donkeys' feet. We also are pretty outdoor people, so cross-country skiing, kayaking. These days I'm really keen on mountain biking, so go to Utah and go mountain biking. I will continue to think about my colleagues and hope that they do well, and like to keep my ear to the ground about what is working and what's not working. And were there a need for advice or help, I would definitely be there. I mean, if there were an occasional special need for somebody to fill in a very niche, narrow piece of contribution to the course, I would absolutely consider that, and it would be an honor to come back on occasion.